Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Matt Robinson, the Gregarious Hermit. So today I wanted to talk about the next section that I wrote about in the book, and the next thing that the mind does is problem solving. So before I start though, I just want to say that this is part of an experiment that I'm doing, which is basically trying to learn how to talk directly to the camera without a script and without preparing anything in advance. I actually tried recording this last night, and it was so terrible that I didn't think it was going to do me any good, and it wasn't going to do you guys any good. So I decided not to publish that one. And this is coming from a person that teaches about non-judgment and, basically stopping that process that we have where we go around judging everything. So it's kind of funny and ironic in a way that I actually judged my own video and felt that it really wasn't going to be good enough. So anyway, today I'm going to record, and let's see, hopefully this is a little bit better than yesterday's. And so again, I'm looking at my book, Understanding Happiness, the Pocket Workbook Companion. And the second thing I describe in there is that our mind does that causes problems is problem solving. So historically, problem solving would help us navigate the landscape. So for example, if I came across a tree that had wonderful apples on it, obviously that's going to solve my problem of being hungry right now. But the problem is it's on the other side of a fast-flowing river. So how do I get across there to get the apples? So basically, I can sit down on a rock and I can visualize myself crossing the river in several different ways. So I could imagine myself, walking from stone to stone, but, I might slip and get washed away by the current. I could try swimming across, but, I'll get very cold and wet. I could try balancing across on a fallen tree, and, again, I could slip and fall. So basically, I can sit and I can actually visualize myself doing those things and getting myself across the river to the apple tree on the other side. So basically, I am visualizing the future in order to solve a problem that I have now. And that's essentially what our mind was designed to do. And that's really great. We can design iPhones and cars. We've sent people to the moon because of our ability to solve problems and solve complex problems. But here's the real problem that we face in our modern society these days, is that almost everything that we come across looks like a problem. And that's due to the excess and the abundance of choice that we have. So none of the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis are very difficult. For example, if you go grocery shopping, deciding which type of apple to buy isn't, a huge headache. It's not like rocket science, but each of those little decisions that you make throughout the day, I call them micro decisions. They still engage that part of your brain that does problem solving. But again, the problem is that we have so many little micro problems to solve. So, if I'm going to the store and I want to buy apples, now it's not a case of, oh, look over there, there's a tree with apples on it. Now it's like, okay, I have 12 different varieties of apples to choose from. So, I'm probably going to go straight towards the ones that I've eaten in the past that I know taste good and I like them. But each one that I pick off the shelf, I'm going to study it and look at it and say, oh no, there's a bruise on that one, and I put it back. And I'll pick up the next one. Oh, there's a little dimple in that, I put it back. And, so each apple that you pick up, you're basically evaluating it, whether it's good enough or, whether you should put it back. And so again, even just the simple process of picking apples, there are many, many decisions. But of course, which supermarket are we going to go to? The one closest to work, but then that'll put me back in rush hour traffic, or the one nearer home, but the prices are more expensive and the lines are longer. Do I buy like a package of apples or individual? Do I get the artisan ones or the ones grown locally, pesticide free, organic? So many different choices. And, if you look at the pasta aisle in the store, there's like, 80 different varieties of pasta to choose from, covering all the different brands and different manufacturing different manufacturers, as well as all the different shapes. So again, none of these decisions are difficult, but it just means that our mind is active almost constantly. So we just get used to looking for problems and trying to identify and solve problems. Again, it's not a bad thing. Our mind has enabled us to send people to the moon, but as our ancestors used that problem-solving ability, they basically used it when they needed it, and then it went dormant. They didn't need it anymore. So in our current society, our minds have become incredibly strong, but not strong in a good way. Now, yesterday I talked about the first part that our mind does, which I called the list. And that's basically the list of your life experiences, identifying things as either good for you or bad for you. Now, when you combine that with problem solving, remember I talked about how our list kind of gets hijacked by TV and the internet, and there are a lot of things that go onto the top of the list that we don't currently have, but our mind perceives them as being better, a way to improve our lives. And so when we look at those things, our mind wants to solve that problem because having a faster car is better, having a bigger house is better. But none of them do make your life better. But it's just a very primitive survival mechanism that makes us want to visualize the future where anything that looks better than what we currently have is an improvement of our chances of survival. And so it creates all of these wants and desires, and our mind spends a lot of time trying to figure out how to get those things that it wants. And I explained about how my car is perfectly adequate, but if I park it next to another car that's a little bit newer, my mind will naturally identify that newer car as being better. It's just the way that it works. We categorize things. And so subconsciously, it makes me unhappy with the car that I have now. Obviously there are different extremes and different levels of unhappiness, but just that all constant visualizing a better future, which is essentially daydreaming, basically makes us unhappy with what we have now. And it means that we defer our happiness to a future time. And of course, that creates a lot of unhappiness now. And if you can recognize that it's literally just a survival mechanism that creates those thoughts, then you can literally just ignore them. And once you start to ignore those, then your mind starts to calm down and get more peaceful. And instead of always chasing things that you think are going to make you happy, you find that you become happy and joyful with what you currently have now. And, you're not always chasing the latest and greatest. And let's face it, nobody ever daydreamed of a worse future. Nobody ever thought of ways that could make their life miserable or make themselves poorer. Our natural instinct is to want to improve the future and make things better. So by thinking that the future is going to make us happy, makes us unhappy now. And in a primitive survival setting, wanting to make things better is literally a way to improve your chances of survival. So it makes a lot of sense in a primitive setting, but in our modern landscape, it actually has no relevance whatsoever. So you can learn to drop that behavior. All right, so hopefully that wasn't too bad. Certainly from my end, it didn't seem as awkward as yesterday's recording. So, all right, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Have a good day.